In this simple exercise, you will learn how to turn this piece of text that says click here into a nice looking button like this using only CSS. Let's first explore the HTML structure of this. We can see that we have a div with the class button and some link inside that's placed in HTML that says click here. Now we won't be talking about HTML. We don't need to know or build HTML. It's already built in this exercise for us. So let's just go to CSS and try to turn this text into a button that we saw before. This exercise is a part of our CSS course for beginners, where you can learn and practice CSS basics with more than 50 hands-on exercises like this without knowing or coding in HTML. If you would like to access the course and the exercise playground to do them yourself, get the solved codes for each exercise and watch the video lessons, you can follow the link in the description or visit cssgamelab.com. So we will start by calling the class, and as you saw, the HTML class is, or the CSS class is button. So we will type .button, and then we are styling the link. And the link has the tag A, and then I will open my curly brackets and I will also close them, and inside we will type our CSS code. So first thing is that we want to apply background color, and this will create the color for our button and create the impression of a button. So I will type background color, and in my case, the color I'm using is 0000CC. And this basically creates the blue background for our text. Now, in order to see the text, we have to change the color of the text as well for our link. And this will mean the property color. So I will turn it into white. This is the hex code for white. And you can see that it's already starting to look like a button. Now, the next thing I want to do is to add a little bit more spacing between the text and the border to create this air in our button. For this, I will use the padding property. So let's put something like maybe 15 pixels or maybe a little bit more on the sides. So I'll put 25 pixels. The first value refers to top and bottom, and the second value refers to left and right padding or left and right spacing inside the element itself. And in order to make this look like a button, if you remember, this is what we are trying to make. And these kind of rounded corners that we want to achieve, we will achieve with the property called border radius. So I will type border radius and set this to be, for example, 6 pixels. Now the next thing is that I want to remove the underline from my text. And for this, I'm using the text decoration property, and I will set it to none. If we set it to underline, that's the default one for links, you can see that it adds the line, but we will just remove it by setting this value to none. And the next thing that I want to do is also to change the font itself. So I will type font family, and in my case, what I'm using is font called Outfit. So I will type Outfit, and I'm using these quotation marks, and I will also define it as sans serif font. So you always want to add sans serif or serif font, which will basically say that if the Outfit family is not available or not loaded and so on, it will replace it with a sans serif font. It kind of defines the font, the type of typeface actually that we are using for our text. And let's maybe also make this a little bit bolder. So I will type font weight. This controls the thickness of the text. So we can have regular, semi-bold, bold, black, and so on. In my case, I will use maybe something like semi-bold. And for this, we use values for font weight. So we can type 300, which is usually lighter text. 400 is usually regular. And in my case, I will type 600, which will make it a little bit bolder, as you can see. If I typed, for example, 300, let's see what that does. It creates this light text. If I type, for example, 900, it will make this very, very black and bold text. In my case, I will leave it to 600. And the last thing that I want to do is to position this button a little bit. And we will use display property. First of all, I want to create some air and some padding and margins, or some margins actually, around the button. And for this, I need to first change the display, which should be set to something like inline block, which is the one that I like to use for buttons. It will basically fit this button into the width of the text, but at the same time, it will respect the margins around the button. So for example, now, if I go ahead and go back to my container that contains the link, which is the button class, so I do not need to open the A selector for the link. I'm just styling the container or the box that holds this button inside. So let's go to our button class. And maybe I want to add a little bit of margin on top. So we'll type margin top, and I will set this to, let's say, 60 pixels. And I also want to set this button to the center. So for this, I can use text align property and put this to center. So these are some basic properties and values that we can use to play around with this button. For example, if I wanted the button to be right aligned, I would simply go to my button class and I can type here right. Or I can leave it to left, which is how it was at the beginning. Let's put it back to center. I can change the margin. Now we can play with other values as well. We can, of course, change the border radius. We can make it, let's say, 16 pixels. We can leave it also square completely, like without any rounded corners and so on. And basically, that's it. That's how you turn a simple HTML link or text into a button. A button is nothing more than a link that's styled to look like a button, mainly using these properties like background color and border radius and so on.